Welcome to Yoga with Kiki. This practice today is made mostly just for me while I'm traveling. So if you travel a lot and you're sitting in your car or on airplanes or sitting at your desk and working a lot on your computer like I do, this should feel really good. So come to the front of your mat and stretch up. Try to keep your spine elongated, your shoulders in line with your hips, and stretch over to the left. Feel the pull on your hips all the way up through the side. And then with the breath, go to the right. I had that backwards, that's okay. Put your hands on the back of your head to support your neck as you lean back and do a gentle arch. Now bring your hands behind your back and clasp them. Try to keep your wrists together as much as you can. Gently turn your head to one side and the other and feel that stretch in your shoulders. Go as slow as you need to. When you're ready, take a deep breath and bend over and let your arms fall to the front of you. Let gravity pull them a little bit and see how your shoulders can stretch. Go as far as is comfortable. You don't need to push it. We're just moving things around. When you're ready, put your hands on the floor. Take a deep breath and straighten your legs and your back. And then fold forward gently and feel a gentle stretch in your lower back and your legs. You can bend your knees if you need to. And just hang there, move around, see what feels good. Pop your left knee and twist your body to the right and lift your right hand up into the air. Do the same on the left hand side. Get some gentle twists in there. Stretch the hips, the hamstrings, your back. When you're ready, step back and we're going to go into plank. Keep your body engaged, your shoulders as engaged as you can, your hips up with your shoulders, your arms straight and locked. And hold it as long as it's comfortable. When you're ready, chaturanga down and then lift back up. So your chest is pulled forward, your hips are pulled forward. Tuck your feet so that the tops of your feet are on your mat. And really just feel your body in that posture. Come back to child's pose and spread your knees really wide. This is a really juicy pose for me in my hips. And it just feels so good to let them kind of be in a posture that they're not usually in. Rest here for a little bit, take some deep breaths, stretch the spine, maybe move your hips around a little bit in this posture to feel what's tight and what's needed. Breathe into your body. When you're ready, go a little bit deeper, spread your knees a little bit more. See if you can go down further. Continuing to breathe deep, long breaths. And now come up onto your hands and knees. We're going to do some cat-cow with your breath. With a deep breath in, arch your back, and with a breath out, push it up like a cat, bringing your hips forward. Once again, deep breath in, arching your back, pushing your hips back and your chest forward. And breath out, pull your hips forward and try to bring your chest towards your hips. Tuck your head. Do this a few times, just warming up the spine and kind of giving it a little bit of a stretch before you start using it more intensely in the practice. I like to make big circles with my chest, starting to the right, just moving it all the way down, feeling the stretch in my hips, my spine, my shoulder. Get some blood flowing too, so that way when I jump into the next postures, my body's a little bit more ready. Feel free to play in this posture, wiggle around, wag your tail like a dog, do some circles. It's really, again, just about movement, breaking up the monotony of sitting in a chair, on an airplane, whatever. And when you're ready, come into downward dog. Take a minute to get comfortable in this posture. Bend your knee one at a time, both to stretch your hamstring and calves, but also to wiggle your hips around. I like to bend both of my knees and push my hips back as far as I can to elongate my spine. And then once I feel like my spine has reached full elongation, I straighten my legs, engage my shoulders, pull them down towards my back, and then just let my head hang and sort of wiggle it around so my neck can kind of move around in ways it's not used to. Stay here for a second and engage everything so that way it's an active posture. We don't want to overstretch. We want to support the body, and we can do that by holding our muscles accountable while we are in these postures that would otherwise allow for really deep stretches. Lift your right leg up into the air and flip your dog by bending your knee, and try to push your hips to the right. Open them up a little bit. See how far you can go comfortably. Do a few circles with your leg so that way your hip is moving in the socket. Push it back a little bit further if you can, and then bring it back down. Take some breaths and do the same on the other side. Lifting your left leg up into the air, bending your knee so your foot drops back behind you. Push your hips forward. See where that stretches for you. Move your hip around in its socket a few times. Come back to downward facing dog. Get comfortable in that position again, checking in with your spine and your back that your shoulders are engaged. Now lift your right leg up and bring it forward into a lunge position. Get your hips square, make sure that everything is in the right place, and you've got your feet planted firmly, your back straight. And then when you feel ready, drop your knee, flatten your foot so the top is against the mat, and then come up. I like to put my hands on my knees. I like to check in on my hip. Make sure both hip bones are facing forward. Oftentimes in these positions, we want to get so deep that we kind of sacrifice the integrity of the posture, and that's where injuries can happen. So check in and make sure your hips are in line, and then when you're ready, move back into runner's stretch by moving your hips back so your back knee is perpendicular and straightening your front leg. Play around in this as well. I like to bend my back so that way my lower back is stretched, and then I like to straighten it so I can really get a deep stretch in my hamstring. And move back forward into the low lunge. Again, engaging the hips, straightening the back and spine as much as you can so there's not too deep of an arch. We don't want to hurt ourselves. We just want to open things up. Back into runner's stretch. Playing with it again. See where the tightness is, what feels good. Never pushing so hard that it hurts, but instead sort of paying attention to the body and what stands out to you during this time. And again, to a low lunge, pushing your hips forward. Deep breaths. And when you're ready, pop that back knee up and come into a high lunge. And straighten the hips once again. Make sure they're both facing forward. And keep both of your legs super engaged. I like to push my back knee up towards the sky so that way my whole leg is engaged and it's really supporting my hip as I do this deep stretch with the arms reached up. When you're ready, tuck your left elbow onto your right knee and put your hands in prayer pose and twist your back as far as you comfortably can. Don't overdo it. And this should get a deep stretch in your left hip. Release that and drop your left hand to the ground and reach your right hand up and get another kind of twist. Again, really stretching the left hip here. Once you're ready, flip over on to a side plank from your left hand, reaching your right hand up, and your right leg goes back to stack on top of your left leg. Hold that as long as you can, and then go back into downward dog and sort of recalibrate. Check in with the hips, the upper back. Engage everything you can think of. Just really using the body in these postures. Now time for the left side. Gonna bring that left leg up into the air and then bring it forward for a low lunge. Once you get your hips squared and your feet planted, straighten the back and feel that pull in your right hip. Drop the knee, flatten your foot, and then come up with your hands on your knee or on your hips. And just bring your hips forward with a straight spine as much as you comfortably can. Once again, we are supporting the body, not forcing it into submission. Come back into runner pose when you're ready. I like to straighten my front leg and flex my toe and point my toe and move my spine around. It's really a dynamic posture, meaning that you can move your body in it, and actually it feels better that way. You're just moving in ways to discover where there's tightness and also to support it by breaking up those crusty bits on the inside. Come back forward to low lunge again, pushing your hips forward gently. Straight spine, shoulders back. Deep breaths all along. Back into runner's pose when you're ready. Playing with it, see what feels good, what comes up for you. Coming back forward into a low lunge. Feeling strong in your back and your hips, keeping everything engaged so that you can safely move between postures. Tuck back to a runner's pose. Do this a few times, as much as you'd like. And then when you're ready, pop that back knee up. Push that back knee up to the sky as much as you can and gently come up into lunge. Bring your hands up into the air. Straighten your spine. Keep your shoulders back and proud. We don't want a tremendous arch in our backs because that, again, puts pressure in ways that doesn't feel that good. We want to be engaged and strong, stretching the body in a supportive way. And hold this posture as long as you can, usually a few breaths for me. When you're ready, take your right elbow and tuck it over your left knee. Put your hands into prayer pose and make a gentle twist out of this lunge. Look back over your left shoulder if you have that in you. Now drop your right hand to the ground and twist your left hand up to the sky, opening up your chest. The challenge here is really to keep your back knee straight and engaged. It's a very deep stretch, so keeping it active is a little bit of a challenge. And now stack your left leg on top of your right. Come over onto your right hand and do a side plank with your left hand in the air. I like to push my hips up in side plank because I get a deep stretch on that upper hip, but you can do it in whatever way feels good to you. Come back into downward dog and wiggle around until you find that comfortable position, keeping your shoulders engaged, pulled down towards the bottom of your back, your chest open. Don't push too hard. Your hands and arms don't need to be hyper flexible. We're mostly focusing on elongating the spine, or at least I am in this posture. And so I want to do that in a way that doesn't really hurt my shoulders or arms. Come up onto your tippy toes and then drop your knees down to the mat. Almost like you're going to do child's pose, but with your feet still flexed. So your toes are on the floor and your heels are right under your bum. Then sit up on your feet like this with a straight spine and take a few deep breaths. I love this stretch because I'm not really doing much with my feet, honestly. I'm sitting or walking, and this stretch really gets in there, helps loosen my calves, my ankles, my arches. It just really eliminates a lot of cramps and pains that I would get from a sedentary lifestyle. And then when you are ready, walk to the front of your mat, standing in a forward fold, and just let your spine hang. Take a deep breath, straighten your back, Straighten your legs and then let out the breath and forward fold. Use your abs and engage your abs to pull your body closer to your thighs. We don't need to stretch in a way that is just passive. We can really use our muscles to get us deeper into a stretch. Bend your knees and slowly roll up one vertebrae at a time until your head is up and your back is straight and you're standing engaged in mountain pose. Push your hips forward and really feel your leg muscles holding you steady. Bring your arms up over your head, and we're going to do that deep side stretch again. Focus on pulling your chest forward, and it's really easy to collapse it when you're doing side stretches like this, but keep your shoulders back so that your chest is open, and reach to the left and right with your hands over your head. When you're ready, put your hands behind your back or behind your head and lean back into a gentle back bend with your neck supported. And I really like to, from that back bend, I really like to do slow circles with my upper body and just sort of allow my shoulders and upper spine do something a little bit different. I find that this really loosens things up and helps release a lot of tension. Take your time, go slowly. The neck is a little bit sensitive, and if you're not used to doing some things with it, you can really cause a lot of pain. So just support your head with your hands. Do it slowly. When you're done, do a few shoulder rolls to kind of get some blood flowing in there. You can even move your entire arms around and just kind of move your arms in their joints in ways that you're not used to if you're sitting a lot. Now clasp your hands behind your back, bringing your wrists together. Take a deep breath and then forward fold with your hands behind your back, letting them fall in front of you over your head. Keep your knees bent and really just relax into the position and let your shoulders kind of do their thing. Stay a little engaged so that way you don't overdo it. Take a few deep breaths. When you're ready, release your hands. Grab the backs of your ankles and sort of hold onto your heels and pull your body towards your legs while keeping your spine arched. It will give a nice deep stretch on the back of your back. Instead of bending it like a back bend, you're going to pull it the other way. When you're ready, release your hands. Come back into plank pose, keeping everything engaged, checking in with your shoulders so you're not sunk into it. You're pushing yourself up off the ground. And then when you're ready, bend your elbows in chaturanga and push up to upward facing dog. This time, put your legs down onto the ground and then roll your hips to the left so that your body's facing the right. And then again, roll your hips to the right so your body's facing the left. Do this a couple of times and just wiggle around in your hips. I love this for my lower back. It feels so good to move it in such a way and get those hip muscles moving in different ways as well. And come back into child's pose. Give those hips a little stretch and rest. Rest your back after all of those twists and movements. Take a few deep breaths and just relax into it. When you're ready, push yourself up and come forward to sit on top of your knees, your feet flat this time underneath you. Get a straight spine and then reach your left hand up and over so that your hand is between your shoulder blades, and then your right hand comes up to meet it. And if you can, clasp them behind your back, and you can push your chest forward if you like. This can be a little bit uncomfortable, so you don't want to overdo it. Take a few deep breaths. And when you're ready, switch, bringing your right arm up over your head and bringing your hand back behind your shoulder blades and reaching up underneath with your left arm so that you can clasp your hands behind your back. Take a few deep breaths and release when you're ready. If you'd like to, you can put your hands facing you on the mat so that your wrists are stretched and pushed forward. And just kind of move your wrists around and get those stretching, because if you're driving or on the computer, those are for sure going to be in pain with a lot of extra use. Now bring your feet forward so that you are sitting with straight legs. Kind of wiggle yourself so that way everything's flat, and then take a deep breath with a straight spine and reach forward to grab your toes. Keep your spine straight for a little bit. That'll be a nice firm stretch. And then when you're ready, release into a forward fold on your legs, using your hands to pull you forward over your legs. And play with this a little bit. Move around. Sometimes when I stretch with a forward fold like this, I can feel it in my lower back. When I have a straight spine, I can feel it in my hamstrings. There's a lot of different ways you can stretch your body in this posture, so find what feels good for you and hold it gently, taking deep breaths. Point your toes, flex them. I like to point my toes in this posture because it stretches the front part of my legs, and that feels really good. I don't often think about that part of my body, but this posture includes everyone. Now let's go ahead and start some core exercises. This will help keep everything sort of supported in day-to-day life. Start in boat pose and then lean back, extending your legs forward and your shoulders back, and bring it back forward. I'm basically doing boat pose sit-ups. I like to do 10. It's a good number to aim for. I get tired around 8, then push 2 more out. You can do as many or as few as you like, with the goal of really just sort of building enough core muscle that you can sit for long periods. That's really it. When you're done, bring your feet into butterfly pose so the soles of your feet are touching. Bring them in so that your heels are as close to your body as possible, as comfortably as possible. And then I like to clasp my hands around my feet and sort of pull them towards my body with a straight spine. So I have a sort of tension that's keeping me really engaged and my spine straight. And then when you're ready, let out your breath and forward fold over your butterfly. Let your hands just dangle in front of you and feel it in your spine. This posture really isn't to stretch your hamstrings or your inner thighs. It's sort of your hip area. So relaxing into it like this allows your lower back to release some tension as well, which can be pulling on your hips and making them tight. You can push yourself down to the ground if you would like. You can do a lot of different things in this posture, but I like to just hang there and let my body sort of settle into it. Come back up and then put your right hand on your right knee and do a gentle twist over the right. And then do the same thing on the left side. This feels good too, twisting in a hip posture like this. I just love it. And now for our next core exercise, we're basically going to do the same thing, but this time alternate, having the left elbow meet the left or the right knee, and then twisting and doing the opposite, right elbow touching the left knee. So basically doing air sit-ups. Again, I like to go to 10, 8, I usually get tired, so somewhere around there, but do as many or as few as you like. And when you're done, put your left leg like you're going to go into a butterfly position, but keep it parallel to your body, and then stack your right leg on top of it. And I really, really like to sort of move around in this posture because I find that this is when my hips pop and crack and make space. So grab onto your ankles and do some big wide circles, arching your back and then coming forward and pushing your chest forward. And move around, mostly focusing on how this feels in your hips and finding those spots that could use a deep stretch. Switch directions and move the other way. Taking deep, slow breaths while you're at it. Now sit up tall, take a deep breath, and come forward and fall over your legs, reaching your hands forward. If this is too deep, that's okay. If it's painful, then come back until it's not painful. I've overstretched my hips one time and really hurt my left hip, and it's never been the same, and it's because I've always tried to go as deep as possible. But now I just go until it feels tight, and then I stop there. So I came back up onto my elbows here to allow space for that. And now we're going to switch, put the right leg underneath, the left leg stacked on top of it, and do some big circles, moving around, arching the back, and then coming forward and pushing the chest forward. I really like to then grab my ankles and sort of arch back, do cat-cow basically in this posture, and this is when I get the most pops in my hip. It makes the most space, so try it out and see what feels good. Switch directions in your circles. And straighten your spine and then come forward, falling over your hips. And you can see my left hip is the one that I've hurt before, so I immediately had to go onto my elbows here so it wasn't as deep of a stretch. Really don't want to overstretch it. I just want it to not be stiff. So I'm finding a comfortable position here. When you're ready, come back up, a straight spine. And now sit cross-legged however is comfortable for you. It doesn't really matter. Maybe you can find something yogic about it. Reach your left hand up and gently pull your head to your left a little bit so that your right neck is stretching. And then reach your right arm back and just sort of make some circles, make some figure eights, wiggle your fingers, lift it up a little higher, move it forward and back, and just sort of move it around until you can find the spot in your shoulder, your right shoulder, that is getting stretched. And it doesn't even have to be that deep. Just move it around and allow the muscles to sort of stretch in a dynamic way. Take some deep breaths. When you're ready, release and gently put your head back up straight. Move your right shoulder around a little bit to get some blood flowing. And then do the same on the left side. With your right hand, gently pull your head to the right. And with your left hand, just move it around. Find that spot that's going to give you the most stretch and hang out there for a little bit. Taking deep breaths. When you're ready, release and gently put your head back up. Move your shoulders around to get some blood in there to support all of that new movement. And then if it's comfortable for you, do some slow circles with your head. I've definitely overdone it on this before and hurt my neck pretty badly, so don't push it. You don't have to go as far as possible. Just kind of move it around in a way so that way, you just did this practice. You've got some blood flowing in there. See if you can kind of support it by moving it around. Some more shoulder rolls to kind of loosen it up. And then when you're ready, come into a yogi squat. Try if you can to keep your feet flat. Find where that is for you. I like it super wide. And then put your hands on the ground with your knees on your elbows and move back and forth between the two postures, the two sides. Wiggle around. I like to sort of lean forward on my elbows and let my elbows push my knees open. And that really kind of opens my hips up. And then when you're ready, come to center and push your knees open with your elbow. Pull your chest forward. This was very difficult for me for many, many years. And for a long time, I had to be on my tippy toes with super wide hips, and I couldn't get that low to the ground. So it doesn't really matter how it looks. We're just trying to do that in whatever capacity you can, so that way you can support your hips. When you're ready, come to a forward fold by straightening your legs and bringing your body over the front of them, and then slowly roll up one vertebrae at a time. Don't fall over. Bring your hands up above you, and one more stretch over to the right. Notice how my chest is open and pushing up towards the sky. Same to the left, pushing up to the sky. This will give you a deep stretch in your hips. And then one more. Clasp your hands behind your back and do a gentle back bend with a supported neck. Bring your hands behind your back, clasp your arms, one more stretch. And then that's it. That's how I end my practice. Savasana is the traditional way, but I'm ready. I'm feeling good, ready to start the day. You can close your practice however you would like. Drink lots of water, be gentle on yourself, pay attention to how you feel afterwards, and enjoy the day. If you liked this routine, let me know. If you'd like another one with something specific, drop it in the comments and let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel to get the next one. I'll be doing a series of these while on the road so you can see how to stretch and do yoga while traveling.